The storm outside the orbital station's viewports looked like someone had shattered the universe into a million angry pieces. I pressed my hand against the cool glass, watching lightning arc between debris clouds as the emergency klaxons wailed their mechanical chorus. All personnel to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. I'd been on Station Artemis 7 for 3 months as a xenobiology consultant, and I'd never seen anything like this. Solar flare activity had destabilized the region's electromagnetic field, turning our quiet research outpost into the cosmic equivalent of a hurricane zone. "Excuse me." The voice behind me was melodic, almost musical, with an accent I couldn't quite place. "I need your help." I turned to find a woman, no, not quite a woman, standing in the corridor. She was tall, nearly 6.5 feet, with skin the color of burnished copper and hair that cascaded down her back in waves of pure silver. Her eyes were large and violet, with vertical pupils that contracted slightly in the station's harsh lighting. She wore what looked like formal robes in deep burgundy, now torn and stained. "Are you injured?" I asked, immediately shifting into crisis mode. "No, but I will be if I don't find shelter soon." She glanced over her shoulder nervously. "The emergency protocols are locking down sectors based on registered occupancy. I'm not supposed to be here." My mind raced. Station regulations were strict about unauthorized personnel, but leaving someone out during an emergency lockdown was unthinkable. The radiation shielding only activated in designated safe zones. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen," I said quickly. "What's your name?" "Lyria. I'm Lyria of House Velshira." She said it like it should mean something, but I was drawing a blank. "I was traveling to the diplomatic summit when our transport was damaged. We made emergency dock here, but the station master said there was no room in the diplomatic quarters during the lockdown." That made sense. Artemis 7 wasn't designed for VIP visits. We had maybe 50 permanent residents and enough emergency capacity for another 20. A damaged transport could easily have exceeded those limits. "My quarters aren't far," I said, making a decision. "But there's a problem. I can compensate you." "No, not that." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to think of how to explain this. "The lockdown protocol uses bioscanners. It counts registered life signs in each safe zone if there's an extra person in mine." Understanding dawned in those violet eyes. "The system will flag it as an anomaly." "Exactly. And during an emergency, anomalies get investigated immediately." "But—" I took a breath. "Couples are allowed to shelter together. If we register as a bonded pair, the system would read us as one family unit." Lyria stared at me. "You're suggesting we pretend to be married? Just for tonight, just until the storm passes and the lockdown lifts." The station shuddered as another electromagnetic wave hit our shields. "It's the only way to keep you safe without triggering an investigation." She studied my face for a long moment, and I wondered what she was seeing. A 32-year-old human woman with tired eyes and lab-stained clothes offering shelter to a complete stranger. It probably looked like a trap. "Why would you do this for someone you don't know?" she asked softly. "Because it's the right thing to do," I said simply. "And because I've been the stranger in a strange place before. Someone helped me once. I'm just passing it forward." Another shudder, stronger this time. The lights flickered. "Okay," Lyria said. "I accept. But I want you to know, my people take bonds seriously, even temporary ones. If we do this, I will owe you a debt of honor." No debt, I insisted. Just stay safe. We hurried through the corridors as the lockdown warnings grew more urgent. At my quarters, I pressed my palm to the scanner, then gestured for Lyria to do the same. Wait, she said. Won't this register us individually? Not if we do it together. I took her hand. Her skin was warm, warmer than human normal, and pressed both our palms to the scanner simultaneously. The system will read it as a couple verification. It's how bonded pairs register after getting married. The scanner hummed, then beeped acceptance. The door slid open, and we stumbled inside just as the final lockdown warning blared. The heavy emergency shutters began descending over the viewports with a metallic grinding sound. My quarters weren't much, a combination bedroom and living space, a small bathroom, a kitchenette, but they were home. Lyria stood in the center of the room, looking simultaneously relieved and uncomfortable. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Truly, you've saved my life." "Don't thank me yet," I said, trying to lighten the mood. "You haven't seen my cooking. Emergency rations only during lockdown, I'm afraid." That earned me a small smile. "I've eaten worse." Military campaigns aren't known for their culinary excellence. Military? I pulled out 2 self-heating meal packs from the storage unit. "I'm a commander in the Velsharen Stellar Defense Force." She accepted the meal pack I handed her. "Or I was before the diplomatic assignment, hence the robes instead of armor. I was supposed to be negotiating trade agreements, not seeking shelter from strangers." We sat on opposite ends of my small couch, the meal packs warming between us. Outside, the storm raged, but inside, an odd sense of calm settled over us. "What's Earth like?" Lyria asked suddenly. "I've read about it, of course, but I've never visited." I smiled, thinking of home. "Crowded, beautiful, complicated. We've got oceans that cover 2/3 of the planet and weather systems that make this storm look like a summer breeze. Mountains so high you can see the curve of the world from their peaks. It sounds wonderful." It is. But so is being out here, seeing things no human has seen before. I opened my meal pack, something allegedly resembling pasta. "What about your world? House Velshara, where is that?" "Velshara Prime in the Crimson Sector. 3 moons, all of them silver. We have crystal forests that sing when the wind blows through them, and cities carved into the sides of mountains so old they remember when the stars were young." Her voice grew wistful. "My family's estate overlooks the singing canyons. On quiet nights, you can hear harmonies that would break your heart with their beauty." We talked for hours as the storm continued its assault on the station. Lyria told me about her training in the Defense Force, about the complex politics of her people, about the pressure of being the 3rd daughter in a noble house. I told her about growing up in Seattle, about my fascination with xenobiology, about the loneliness of deep space research. At some point, the conversation shifted from facts to feelings. She admitted her fear of the diplomatic role she'd been thrust into, her sense of being unprepared for a world of politics when she'd trained for combat. I confessed my own imposter syndrome, the feeling that I was always one mistake away from being revealed as inadequate. "You're not, you know," Lyria said firmly. "Inadequate. Look at what you did tonight. You saw someone in need and you helped, even at risk to yourself. That takes courage. I think you're giving me too much credit. Anyone would have done the same." "No," she shook her head, silver hair catching the emergency lighting. "They wouldn't. The station master could have helped. He chose bureaucracy over compassion. You chose differently." The station shuddered again, harder than before. the lights dimmed to emergency levels, bathing everything in a red glow. "We should try to sleep," I said. "It could be a long night." I pulled extra blankets from the storage compartment and started arranging them on the couch. "You take the bed." "I'll be fine here." "Absolutely not." Lyria stood, drawing herself up to her full height. "You've already given me shelter and safety. I won't take your bed, too." "You're injured. Wait, you said you weren't injured." She looked away. "I said I wasn't injured enough to need medical attention. There's a difference." Before I could argue further, she pulled aside part of her robe, revealing a nasty bruise spreading across her ribs, dark purple against her copper skin. "Lyria, that needs to be treated. It's just bruising, nothing broken, but it does make the couch less appealing, I'll admit." I sighed. "The bed's big enough for two if you're comfortable with that. Keep our fake marriage authentic for the bioscanners." She smiled at that. "I suppose it would be suspicious if we didn't share sleeping quarters." We settled in on opposite sides of the bed, a careful distance between us. The emergency lighting dimmed further, leaving us in near darkness. Outside, the storm continued its relentless assault. "Sarah," Lyria's voice came softly through the dark. "Yeah, among my people, when someone shelters you during a storm, they become family, not by blood but by bond. It's considered sacred." "That's beautiful," I whispered. "I want you to know when I said I would owe you a debt of honor, I meant it. If you ever need anything, anything at all, you need only call and I will come." "Lyria, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Not because of obligation, but because in one night you've shown me more kindness than I've experienced in months of diplomatic functions. You didn't see a potential ally or a political connection. You saw someone who needed help, and you helped." I felt her hand find mine in the darkness, her fingers warm and slightly longer than human normal. I squeezed gently. "Then I guess we're family," I said. "Yes," she agreed softly. "I guess we are." I woke to sunlight, or rather starlight streaming through the viewports as the emergency shutters retracted. The storm had passed. Lyria was still asleep beside me, her silver hair spread across the pillow like moonlight on water. In sleep, she looked younger, less burdened. The station's PA system crackled to life. "All clear. Emergency protocols deactivated. Normal operations resuming." Lyria stirred, those violet eyes opening slowly. For a moment, she looked confused, then memory returned and she smiled. "We survived," she said. "We did." We stood together at the viewport, watching the station's repair crews already moving outside in their protective suits, assessing damage. "I should go," Lyria said reluctantly. "My transport will need attention and there are diplomatic responsibilities." "I know." I felt an unexpected pang at the thought of her leaving. She turned to face me, taking both my hands in hers. "Sarah Chen of Earth, you have my gratitude, my respect, and my friendship. If our paths cross again, I hope we can continue what we started here." "I'd like that." She reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal, no bigger than my thumbnail, that pulsed with soft, violet light. "This is a communication beacon keyed to my personal frequency. If you ever need me, just speak my name into it, and I'll hear you across any distance." "Lyria, I can't accept." "You can and you will. A debt of honor demands it." She pressed the crystal into my palm, closing my fingers around it. "Besides, friends give each other gifts. That's how it works, isn't it?" I laughed, feeling tears prick my eyes. "Yeah, that's how it works." At the door, she paused. "Thank you for being my wife, even if only for one night. Thank you for being my family, even if only for a storm." She left then, silver hair and burgundy robes disappearing down the corridor. I stood in my doorway holding the crystal, feeling both the ache of goodbye and the warmth of new connection. The station's bioscanners would revert to my single status within the hour. The record of our temporary bond would become just another data point in the system. But the bond itself, the real one forged in kindness and sealed in storm light, that would remain. I closed my door and looked at the crystal in my hand, already planning what I'd say when I called her, because I would call her. Some stories don't end with goodbye. Some stories are just beginning, and ours, I suspected, had only just started.